It is, as always, a delight to be here. As I remind those in the science fraternity who say we don't have a science minister, I do represent the science fraternity, and I do so with a passion, not just because it's my responsibility, but because I am the grandson and son of a scientist, and I understand the importance of science in our community, having used it basically all my life. So it is a delight to be here. I do want to acknowledge the work that Ian does in this space and the linkage he provides for government, not only between government and the science fraternity, but also between government, the science fraternity and the community. And I did come in on the end of that discussion and I thought to myself, yes, I've heard this discussion before, but here's my two bobs worth. Science has allowed itself to get pushed out of the community awareness space by whatever. When you are, as I am, a practising politician, which means I'm interested in what people say and think and do, you've got to realise that in a modern community, people are bombarded from every side with every issue, from getting dinner on the table at 6 o'clock to making sure that the budget adds up at the end of the week, as well as every time you turn on the television being sold a message to buy something or be involved in something, or when you go to your computer tell someone what you're doing. And in that social conscious, science is just, because scientists always know that what they say is correct because it's based on fact and science, they then don't spend any time selling it and forcing their way into people's conscious. So, there's my challenge for you. If you're feeling a little irrelevant in the community, the answer is make yourself relevant. Make people understand that science is more than just fixing sick children, that actually you're solving day-to-day problems for them every day, because a lot in the community just look at scientists and say, yep, they're inventing the great cures for all these diseases which are so horrible, and then they stop thinking about it. Why do I know that? I know that because if you're a small business person and you've got a problem that you need to solve, only 3% of you will go to a scientist. Worst collaboration in the world. Yes, we are risk adverse in Australia. I don't understand that. We're a country built on taking risks. We are very tough on people who fail, but that's not the reason that business doesn't collaborate. They just don't think of scientists as being part of their solution. And scientists need to improve your front foot ability and push your relevance into the community, because if you don't, no one else is going to. It is a highly competitive space out there for people's attention. And as I say, for a whole range of reasons. And if you're not in someone's consciousness, let alone in their subconsciousness in some cases, then you won't get a piece of their thinking, and then you won't therefore have that push as you need to make sure that science is taught in schools, because I don't really understand why it's important that it's taught in schools. And of course that other very important area, that science is an issue that politicians should address. So I acknowledge slightly digressed from my speech there, but I acknowledge the work that Ian's done, and I have enjoyed working with him on that, and as you'll see, there are a number of issues that we are working on together. Other distinguished guests, parliamentary colleagues, if there are any here, ladies and gentlemen, it is always good to see such a strong turnout at these sort of events, and it is important that we have the conversation about science and where it all fits. And we are in government very conscious of the fact that science is essential to building the future of Australia, and I, as Industry Minister, who now face this enormous challenge of transitioning manufacturing in particular in Australia to advanced manufacturing, where we will again be competitive, so away from the commodity style manufacturing that we see in the car industry, where a Toyota Camry is made in 5 or 6 different countries and it's all exactly the same vehicle, give or take, and unfortunately we have the most expensive one to build, and therefore that industry is not going to be sustainable. So we need to transition manufacturing to advanced manufacturing to produce high value, high niche goods that have a great level of sophistication in them. And where are we going to get that sophistication from? From the science community, where else? And so we are going to use science to make us more competitive in the industry space in Australia. And then you will have the flow-on benefits that I was talking about a minute ago, where people's standard of living is improved by science, not just by providing them with cures to diseases, but in fact by providing them with a better standard of living all round, because they'll have higher wages. And our government will use science as part of our national industry investment and competitiveness agenda as we lay out our plan very shortly, I might add, to ensure that we have the businesses and the jobs of the future. We are very much focused at the moment as a government on building the connections between business and research, and I have spent a great deal of time talking with not only the pure science community and the research science community, but also the commercialisation part of that science community. And I know that when the Prime Minister visited the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre last week, and he spoke about the importance of STEM, or science, technology, engineering and maths, he said so in the context that it was the heart of of Australia's competitiveness, and it is, of course, the heart of our productivity, not to mention our health. As Industry Minister and the Minister responsible for science, I am particularly focused on finding better and smarter ways of organising our science and research effort, because as you would be more than aware, we are in a difficult financial situation in terms of our own budget, and every dollar has to be well spent. We need also to make stronger and more meaningful connections to business and create places where industry and researchers can share a vision before they commercialise it, and then go out and commercialise it, because a good idea is worth nothing until it's commercialised in a monetary sense. But in many cases, unless it is commercialised, it actually won't get the coverage and produce the betterment for society unless it is actually being promoted by the desire to actually get a commercial return from it. We will, as a government, and we are and have been for the past 12 months, taking a strategic and long-term approach to policy development. And right at the heart of our industry policy, if you haven't gathered already, is science and research. Because, as I say to industry when I talk to them, you've got to get the foundation right. And the right foundation is science. It is essential that we lay science in at the first level as we step forward in terms of taking industry forward. And if we do that, then not only will we produce innovative products, but we allow ourselves to get into the global supply chains and keep pace with changes in consumer attitudes. And of course, the ultimate goal is not only to get that, but also to create more jobs in Australia for Australians. Of course, there's always a place for blue sky research, and it is that appreciation of that needs to be driven more at the practical side of our government, in terms of we need people right across government to understand that some money will be spent to improve knowledge but not return a cent in terms of income to the country. And there is appreciation of that within our cabinet, but it's something in the broader sense of the community we need to do more work on. Some people see blue sky research as scientists basically following an interest, or even going off on a frolic, dare I say. That is absolutely incorrect, absolutely incorrect. But again, we do need to explain why blue sky research is important. And we need to also build on the importance of the practical applications of science, because that is the easiest way into the people's thinking, because they can see a practical benefit of what we do. It's no accident that science is in the industry portfolio, because it is, in the end, the one thing that will give us the competitive edge. I've spent quite a bit of time, as I say, moving around various scientific and research organisations and institutions, and I was just last week at the University of Queensland, the week before I think at the Griffith University, and the month before that at Newcastle University, and I will in time work my way around those institutions. But can I say that I was delighted last week, and I'm not picking this out because I'm a Queenslander, but I was delighted last week to be with Peter Hoy at the University of Queensland and to receive an explanation from UniQuest as to how they are now on the doorstep of being probably one of the great commercialisation universities of the world. Not just Australia, but in fact just there, almost there, but building incredible international linkages and drawing in international funding to produce absolutely fantastic outcomes. I'm actually waiting for the replacement to the artificial knee as someone who played a bit of football in their early days, and inevitably at almost 60 is having cartilage problems in my knee. I'm waiting for the stem cell replacement of the cartilage, which again they're working on. And so in terms of what they were doing and what they were doing, the research that was being done at Griffith and at University of Newcastle, and I know all the great sandstones as well as some of the other universities, research is being done which gives us the opportunity to get good ideas to market. I mentioned earlier that we are atrocious, and there is no other word for it, at collaboration in Australia. Collaboration between business in particular and science and the science community is awful. We are last in the world. How can a country as wonderful as ours, as well educated as ours, assume that position? And that's certainly something that Ian and I have discussed at length, and something that Ian and I have worked towards getting some solutions, and I know he has some thoughts on that which he'll no doubt outline to us. But all I can say to you is watch this space. I haven't spent the last 10 months being lectured by people, and they quite rightly should have lectured me, about the poor collaboration in Australia and not being prepared to react to it. We need to set about to provide the superstructure of turning innovation in Australia into commercial outcomes and into collaboration between industry and science to make sure it all stays on the focus of progressing our industries in Australia to a much better place and a more competitive place. I also have noticed that some of those themes have been echoed by the Business Council of Australia during the report which was presented by Catherine Livingstone on building Australia's comparative advantages. And that report had particular emphasis on fostering collaboration and alignment on research, given Australia's limited financial resources. And part of that focus is to actually pick out those areas that we do have a natural or competitive advantage in, particularly food and agribusiness, mining equipment, technical services, and all the services that go with our wonderful mining industry. I spoke a moment ago about medical technology and medical devices and pharmaceuticals, a really key area where Australia excels. Of course, energy, oil and gas, that area where we are, in fact, pioneering technology almost under the radar. How something the size of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I'm talking, of course, about FLNG, floating LNG, a platform the size of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which touches either bank and whose superstructure is as high as the Sydney Harbour Bridge, how that can be under the radar, yet it will be the first in the world, and it will be in Australia, and it's currently under construction in a shipyard in Korea. As well as that, will be the first country in the world to export LNG from non-conventional gas. So that oil and gas area is obviously important. And the area which I've already spoken about repeatedly, advanced manufacturing, that high-tech, non-commoditised manufacturing that makes Australia so special, that shows we can do it as well, if not better, than anyone else. And there are a plethora of examples across Australian manufacturing where we're already doing it, and we shouldn't be frightened as a country of transitioning industry to that space and having a go at it. Of course, industry, government and science can't work in isolation, and we do need that partnership, and experienced facilitators are very much part of that solution in making sure we all work together. As I say, Ian and I have been talking in private, but soon we'll be talking in public about facilitating bringing those three parts together. And as I say, I urge you to watch that space. We are very focused on strategies to enhance our research commercialisation and competitiveness, and these initiatives will provide an opportunity for scientists to continue to work with government and business to create new ideas, new connections and new inventions, and as I say, new jobs. These approaches will allow us to have better, smarter and more targeted approaches to our research. And I know that Ian's efforts and my efforts as well, in collaboration with him, to convene a reinvigorated Science Council will also soon come to fruition. It's something I'm looking forward to. I always enjoyed the MSEC when I was Minister for Industry last time. I wasn't Minister for Science on that occasion, but I will be this time. And to have that completeness in my portfolio and work beside people like Ian is something I'm very much looking forward to. In conclusion, can I congratulate you again, Ian, you and your team and all the eminent people who've contributed to your work to continue to focus the science conversation in Australia. As I say, it does need to be focused. I look forward to continuing to working with you all on our shared objectives of strengthening Australia's future through science. Thank you.